Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest Emily Schultheis. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, this Indiana native has been seen on the national tour of Wicked, where she was a standby for Elphaba, Bat Out of Hell in Toronto, Canada, where she starred as Raven, and she can currently be seen on Broadway as Anita in Almost Famous the Musical. Please welcome Emily Schultheis. Hi.
Hi, Becca. How are you?
Good. So good. So glad we could work out a time to do this.
Yeah, me too. Wow. I was looking through our email thread last night and I was like, oh my gosh, it's literally been a year
Yes.
of scheduling. Wow, life.
And I think this is like the perfect time to do an interview anyways.
Absolutely.
So, because you have so much going on right now. So exciting.
Yeah, it all worked out, huh?
Yes. So how have you been, first of all?
Honestly, great. I literally couldn't be better. I mean, obviously the last 2 years has been hard.
Yeah.
And just coming back to like this thing that I did pre-pandemic and then seeing like how different everybody is, but how we've all just like grown together and grown closer. It's like, it's become this like familial thing. And so like we're celebrating getting to Broadway, but we're also celebrating making it to the other side of a pandemic. We're celebrating sticking together. People have gotten married and had babies and doing all these things. And it just like, it feels like going to work with your best friends, which like who gets to do that?
Yeah, it's like it's a dream, I'm sure.
Yeah. And like getting back into like an 8-show a week schedule is like such a tricky thing to navigate. But like showing up, once you get to work and you're like, oh my God, my friends are here. This is rad. Like, who cares if we're tired? Let's like try the through and do it.
Right. The adrenaline kicks in and you're like, okay, I can do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. So when was the first time you realized that you wanted to have a career in theater and that you like had a passion for performing?
Oh my gosh. I think it was super young. I mean, I recently went home to visit my parents and I was watching some home movies that my dad made me watch because dads.
Oh, yes.
And I was like in the living room being like, is it on? Is the camera on? Are you recording? Okay, this is my song. It's called Once I Saw a Balloon. And it's just me like monologuing words and a melody. And then they're like, yay, good job. And I'm like, I'm not finished yet. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And my family isn't super artsy. They're not really like theater people at all. So I didn't really like get into singing and acting probably until like, I started doing choir in middle school or something like that. But seeing that the spark was there, I was like, oh, she's born with it. It's not Maybelline.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. So you were writing songs at like a young age.
Apparently. I mean, I should go back and copy down the lyrics, see if there's something there.
Got to put that on your resume.
Oh yeah.
Wrote a song at 6 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So do you remember what the first professional theater show that you ever saw was, where you were like, definitely like that's something that I want to do?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you asked that. I actually was like in a musical before I ever saw one.
Really? That's so cool.
Yeah, my parents were really not like theater goers. And I'm from a small town in Indiana. And so I was like doing musicals and musical theater before I ever actually like watched a musical. I think the first musical I saw was my like a high school production of Guys and Dolls that I was not in when I was in high school. And then Actually, okay, I'll take it back. When I was really little, I was vacationing in Branson, Missouri, as you do when you're from small town Indiana.
Yes, random.
And Dolly Parton had this like Civil War reenactment dinner theater thing called Dolly Parton's 60 Stampede, which has since been renamed, thankfully. But it is this like Southern weird reenactment of battles where like these actors are in army uniforms and they get on horses and they're riding horses and they serve you dinner and you aren't allowed to use utensils. You have to like eat everything with your hands, and it's
Medieval times.
It is. But it's like Civil War times or whatever. And
Yeah.
I am not sure exactly like the implications of the performance. Like, I don't know what it was celebrating exactly because I was just like in third grade.
Yeah.
That might have been like the first theatrical experience I guess I had. And I was just overwhelmed. It was immersive. It was everything. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Should I move to Branson, Missouri and be in the Dixie Stampede when I get older? Like, I think it was that kind of like little spark.
You're like, Branson, Missouri is the coolest city ever.
Yeah. What's Broadway? I'm going to
Branson,
Missouri.
New York? No. Branson, Missouri. Where's that? Wow. That's so cool. I went to medieval times a bunch as a kid, so like I don't know, the whole like it brought me back to medieval times. You talking about the eating food with your hand stuff and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do without utensils?
I know, but they really get you to invest. They're like, nope, you are going to immerse yourself and you will like it, or you will not eat this Cornish hen we served you.
Oh yes. And you're like, okay, fine, because I'm hungry. Whatever. Like, it's cool. So
you're like, oh, and green beans are fine.
Yeah. So growing up, I'm curious, how was it like just like performing in front of the family that like got you like that? How did you become well-rounded performer growing up? Because like, you have a great singing voice, obviously. Did it just come naturally, or how did you develop it?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've been asked this before, and it feels now looking back on it like almost accidental, but obviously it's not accidental. Obviously it's like that thing inside of you, you know, why we all pursue something creative. It's like you're just like following the thread, right? And you just like, especially when you're a kid, you just kind of like are like, oh, I like this, more of this. What's this? What's this? And it just like starts tumbling forward. And I don't think a lot of people, I mean, now parents are a little bit more hands-on and a little bit more curative, but when I was a kid, I was just like out in the neighborhood doing stuff because I liked it. We would put on performances in the driveway. We would do whatever. And it was like coming just from our brains and like whatever innate desire you have as a kid to like create, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like tumbling into these creative things. And then as you get more structured in school, you kind of are like, oh, what's choir? Okay, I'll do choir. I like singing. Oh, wow. You can go do a musical after school. Well, I like singing, so I'm going to go sing in front of people in this musical. Oh my gosh, acting. Oh my gosh, we have to dance. Wow. And like you kind of go
like the snowball effect kind of like from there.
Yeah. I mean, like I was growing up in the 90s, so it was like,
yes,
your parents just kind of set you free and like they're like, whatever you do after school, just come home before it's dark or whatever. Like go ahead. So it really like was explorative in that sense of just like, I was just trying stuff on and being like, I like this. Well, this seems kind of like that. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Oh my gosh. And then like begging for voice lessons, begging for dance classes. My parents are like, what? You want to go take singing lessons? You're in 5th grade. Like, what are you doing? But
it's like the time when you realize like around 5th grade, around like 10, 11 years old.
It is. And now kids are like mostly just doing stuff because, you know, their parents like are like, okay, if you're going to do soccer, we're going to get you soccer lessons, and then you're going to be the best, and you're going to be a travel team, and you have to be obsessed with soccer, and you have to do this, and like, you better go play soccer in college, and da 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 da.
They're gonna post
But,
videos
like,
of you on Instagram playing soccer.
yeah, right. But it's so much, I think it's so much more lovely to like just let kids kind of like, oh, you want to try this? Yeah, cool. It's like being involved in the arts and being curious about the arts, even if you aren't going to end up doing something like going to Broadway or whatever. I think it just like, it makes you, like you just said, a well-rounded person. It teaches you empathy, it teaches you teamwork. It's so collaborative and creative. And it's just like, no matter what you end up doing after that, it just ends up being, I just think, really, really good for you.
It's such a great way to meet like-minded people as well.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, the only friends that I still talk to from Indiana, you know, as life grows and you grow apart from people, are people that I did theater with when I was in middle school. One of my friends just flew all the way to New York. We don't even really talk that much anymore. And she works a lot in Chicago. And she was like in between shows and was like, I'm going to fly to New York and see Almost Famous. I haven't talked to her really like face to face in probably 3 or 4 years. And she just flew in, saw the show, and flew out. And we were like, hey, like, you know, I did
so
like,
cool.
Yeah, Crazy Camp the musical in 6th grade with her or whatever.
Like memories from this random musical in 6th grade elementary school or middle school.
Yeah, probably written by my teacher. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk about your first national tour. So it was Bat Out of Hell, correct?
Actually, the first national tour I went on was Wicked. Yeah.
Wicked. Okay. So Wicked was your first national tour, and then we're going to talk about Bat Out of Hell. But
yeah, we can talk about whatever order you want.
So that is a huge musical. Had you seen it before, first of all?
Like, I did.
Chance to see it. Okay, great. So who was in your first cast of Wicked?
It was Katie Rose Clark and Lindsay Mendez.
Okay.
I know. It was a very niche cast.
I love when people like remember the cast. So that's like always a very important who was your first,
yeah. I think no matter who you are, the first time you see Wicked, you're like, it just is like seared into my brain. It was the first time I'd ever been in New York, and my dad was like, we're going to go see Wicked. And I was like, okay. I think I was 19 or 20. I was definitely in college. Okay. And he was like, doesn't like musicals, but he was like, I know this is really important to you. We were like 5th row center. And I just remember when she was singing Wizard and my jaw was just on the ground. And I was like,
it's an experience.
Wow. Yeah.
Even before Defying Gravity, you're like, what? Like, how? Like, this is theater. This is peak theater.
Peak theater. Unreal.
Yes. So what was your audition process like for Wicked, and what was it like getting the audition process for Wicked? Because getting the audition for Wicked, because I imagine it's like super cool to be like, hey, I'm auditioning for this huge show that's been around since like 2003.
Yeah.
That's so popular.
Right. And it's just like iconic, and you know, it's like peak. If you're a beltress in musical theater, you want to play. You know what I mean? That's like how it goes. So I think the first time I auditioned, I was still in college. Actually, I had just signed with my manager, and I was finishing up college, and I taped for it. Didn't hear anything back. And then I, was bummed, but I was like, it's okay, shake it off. You're 21 or whatever. And then I graduated, and I think I went in for it again and didn't get a call back. And then I went in for it again, and I didn't get a call back. This was on my like first year in New York. And then I went in for it again and didn't get a call back. And then the 4th time I went in, I booked it. And it was weird. I mean, it was weird. It was all in the same year. It was the first year that I was in New York City. Oh my God. And I think it just depends on like timing, what they're looking for, who's in the room, how you're feeling that day. It's all just kind of like has to be the perfect storm, right?
They know what they're doing.
But it was kind of a long and drawn out process. I think from that fourth audition to getting the call was probably 3 more callbacks, a session with Lisa Laguio, who is the associate director, and then a dance session because they were actually casting the ensemble track to understudy Elphaba when I was in for it. And there were just like 2 of us in that dance session, like learning the choreo. And then we ended up both getting the call that we booked it. And they asked me to be the standby, and the other girl booked the track that we were in for. And it was amazing.
So was that like, had you known what a standby was and like did on Broadway and
I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't know what it was. It was, yeah, I mean, it was a learning curve all the way to like when I was on tour, because, you know, they give you your contract details and they tell you like, first, this is an embarrassing story. They tell you like first rehearsal date and then first performance date and like da 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 da. Obviously, when you're a standby, you don't have a first performance date. It's just the first day you're backstage. I didn't know that. So I was thinking, oh, the first time I'm going to go on is because this girl has a personal day or she's going to be out, and they're telling me like, here's the scheduled performance because she's like going on vacation or something, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But when the first performance, I thought I'm going on. So my parents bought tickets. They flew to Texas. I debuted Backstage in Houston, and my parents flew in, and I'm like saying, I like posted, you know, like the first time I was green, my put in, so excited, literally this whole time, just like still thinking that I'm going on that Tuesday. And I get a call from my agents and they're like, hey, Emily, company management called us and they saw something on your social media that was like, you replied to someone's comment and said like your first show is Tuesday. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, but your first, like, do you know that you're backstage? And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, you can't tell people you're going on. They can't like, they're not, you know, they can't ask that girl to call out. And I was like, oh, I just thought she was going somewhere, or she had, you know, I was like, I wasn't saying they're going to make her call out, but I just don't. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, I am on my first professional gig. I was 23 years old. I was like, I don't even know what my job is. I don't even know how to like look at the parameters of this job. Yeah, I felt so, for lack of a better word, green. No pun intended.
Yes.
And I was so embarrassed. I didn't know anybody. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I like tried deleting all the stuff. I like talked to, luckily, like the person playing Elphaba was Emily Cook, and she was just the nicest person. So I was like, hey, I'm so sorry that I said that. I genuinely thought you were going to be out. I have no idea. And she was like, oh dude, like, it's okay. Like whatever, water under the bridge. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, she was really gracious about it, but I was just mortified. I was like, wow. Wow.
But it's a whole learning process. You got to start somewhere, and learning is part of the gig.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think some people forget that. And I feel like because of that story, like now that I'm like a little bit more seasoned, which like, you know, you're constantly having new experiences too in this business. But now that I'm a little bit more seasoned, especially when I'm working with younger actors, I'm just always like 1,000% gracious, no judgments. You got stupid questions, you know, come at me.
Yeah. Yes. So for people who actually don't know, this opens up a good conversation. What does a standby do during the show?
A standby is an offstage track that usually just covers one role. Sometimes I think they can cover 2. I'm not sure what the parameters are of what they're allowed to cover. But it is a principal track that is just like meant to cover one of the leads, and you're basically a safety. So you could go on mid-show, your first cover when they call out. So in order for another understudy to go on, I would have to call out of the show and not be in the building. for them to go on. And you just kind of like chill until someone calls out, and then you get the call, and then you get ready, and then you go on, and you don't do a track in the onstage show. Which is like a really cool gig, but it, you know, it has its own challenges. You don't get to do 8 shows a week. You don't build up that stamina. You don't build up the, like, you know, I was on tour for almost a year and a half, and I think I did 77 performances of Elphaba, but they're doing 8 shows a week. So in a year and a half, you know, out of 77 is just like not a large percentage of the whole, which is like kind of crazy to think about. It's a lot of downtime, but I was constantly like singing through the show. If there was a rehearsal room in the space that wasn't being used by putting people into the show, I would go up there and like listen to the show and walk through my stage blocking if I hadn't been on in a while, just because, you know, you're like your first call, you got to know exactly what to do, and you should be able to step in and just like kill it, right?
Yeah. So I'm curious, how did you prepare for that, for your debut as Elphaba?
I mean, you kind of don't, in a sense of like, you just don't know when it's going to be. I think I was backstage for 3 weeks before Emily called out. She was getting towards the end of her contract, and she was like doing a contest with herself of like, okay, how many in a row can I do? Which is cool, you know, to just play with yourself. She was, you know, such a powerhouse. Yeah, like such a good person to look up to when I started the show. And I was just like, I was preparing by, I bought myself a belt box. Do you know what a belt box is?
No, I don't.
It is this crazy, like silicone, soft, mushy thing that you can put over your face. And mine's at the theater, I would show you. And you pinch the nose. There's like 2 nose holes so you can breathe, but you pinch the nose, and it effectively like almost completely silences whatever you're singing. And so you can warm up in public and like do all these things. It comes with this strap that you can strap it to your face. You look fully like Bane. I mean, it is, it's not cute, but it is like heavy duty, soundproof little stuff. And I would strap it to my face and go to the hotel gym and sing through the track on the treadmill.
Oh my gosh, that's so, okay. That's amazing. That's so smart, rather than just like going to the hotel gym hoping no one's in there. And
yeah, I mean, ideally no one was in there, but some, you know, most people who are in there anyway, like they have their own headphones on. So if I'm doing my stuff and they have headphones on, then I'm like, cool, you don't know I'm like just screaming musical theater right now.
Oh my gosh, what a good way to prepare though, because Elphaba is not an easy track, and you're not singing easy songs.
No.
So like running or fast walking or whatever on the treadmill, like just like belting out the lyrics to Elphaba songs.
Yeah. And that was like my saving grace, because especially, you know, your heart rate starts mimicking those kinds of behaviors.
Yes.
Like you're working out when you get nervous. And so it really helped like with my nerves too, which I like didn't anticipate, but it was like a really positive side effect of all of that.
Yes. So when was your official debut? Do you remember the day, and like, was it nuts? What happened?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I remember the exact day. It was in September, and it was in Columbus, Ohio.
Ooh.
Yeah, at their gorgeous opera house. It was such a beautiful theater to debut in, and it was pretty close to where, where some of my family lived.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got the call earlier in the afternoon, I think it was like, I don't know. It was definitely enough time for some of my extended family to drive from Indianapolis. So my cousin and my aunt got in the car right then. They were like, we can make it if we leave right now. And they sprinted to the car. I got them tickets in the box office. They like hurried up there, and it was such a whirlwind of like oh, do I post on Instagram? This is really exciting, but also like, I don't want to be like excited that someone's not feeling well. Like you also have to figure out,
Like the happy medium.
the happy medium. Cause like, obviously I'm not happy that she doesn't feel well or she's tired or whatever, but I was really happy for me and also terrified, by the way, absolutely terrified. Um, I just, you don't know what it's going to
Big
be like.
role.
The thing, big role. And it was my first like professional gig as an actor, which is just a huge, I can't even believe that I just like had, you have the like young, just like you're too naive to really be that nervous. You're just kind of like, oh, I guess this is what it is. But looking back on it, it was just like such a huge undertaking. And I'm so happy I didn't have bad anxiety yet and could just kind of like get through it and just be like, okay, like, yeah, let's see what happens. But it was a whirlwind and I fell on my butt, literally splat on the stage
Oh no.
two times during the
You're like,
debut.
that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it was
Yeah.
at like semi-appropriate times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Of course.
it was right out of the scene into like the flying monkeys
Okay.
where she's like turning to go and I just like turned and stepped on my dress and just went.
I mean, how heavy is that dress though?
It is 14 pounds, I think.
Yeah, so that's like kind of insane that you're wearing like what?
Yeah. It was oh my gosh, it's so funny to be reminiscing about this right now. It is a really heavy dress and you get to practice in it once. You do your put in and then you like
Only once.
go on. Yeah, I
And
know.
you're like, how am I supposed to wear this dress on stage?
Well, I know. And after I busted my butt in front of a couple thousand people, stage management was like, Emily, do you want to put the dress on when you're like backstage just hanging out and just kind of walk around in it? And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yes, to get you, like used to it backstage. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Good
just
idea.
like, yeah. So I like put it on. I think I like rehearsed by myself in it a couple times. And they let me rehearse in the wig. Cause it's like, it's also so long and you got some wigography for the changes and all that stuff. But it's so funny what you don't know that you need to
Yes.
watch out for.
I was gonna say you're no stranger to like being the person who's like backstage, like just like going full out rehearsing and like just like singing to yourself backstage and being like putting on a show for absolutely no one backstage.
Gotta.
Like, I mean, hey, no one wants to come see me perform, but like I was putting on a full performance for my dog to 6 during the pandemic, so it's
Hey.
fine. But no one wants to see me come perform on the stage. No, absolutely not.
I would come see a 1-woman 6. I think we should make it happen.
No, not of me. No.
Well, I'm
I
sure
would
your
be
dog loved it.
oof. She was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" So, what was it like getting on the green? Is
Awesome. I mean, they have like really lovely makeup artists that travel with you to like help you put it on because it's just so specific.
yes, and
Um
it changes in that too.
yeah, totally. Yeah, they definitely glam it up. It was the first time that I got green, I just cried.
As one would do.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it, because it's that like surreal feel it's
You're like,
just
I'm this character.
you just look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I'm Elphaba. I'm literally Elphaba. Um, and it was crazy. Getting it off is a different story. You got to scrub. Everyone has that classic quintessential Elphaba green hairline.
Yes.
When I left the tour, I took myself on vacation in Europe. I was in Paris, I think like probably 7 or 8 days after I left Wicked. And in the shower, I like scrubbed some green off from somewhere in the recesses of my ears. And I was like, why are you still here?
Like, why can't I get rid of this?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's completely worth it, but it is such a trippy thing to just look in the mirror and be like, wow, I'm just a green bean. I'm just
Yes.
an alien.
And I gotta know, are you a wizard in Alpha? Not that girl, define gravity, or no good deed?
I am a no good deed Elphaba.
Oh, and why?
It just is, I think, such a powerful thing for her. First of all, it's the end of the show, so it's like there isn't really any more like tough stuff to do. So if you're kind of like dividing your energy up and kind of parsing it out and like trying to like save it at all, at the end of the show, you just go for it. I mean, that I was like, get me to Fiero. Just I mean, and that's her I'm taking my power back song, in the sense of just like, wow, I am fighting against all of these opinions of me. And you know what? If this is who you think I am, you haven't seen anything yet. I will show you exactly what you think I am. And I will be 1,000 times more than, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You're just like, you ain't seen nothing yet. But she goes through all of these, like, you really get to see her, and she's vulnerable at other moments of the show. But I think that part where she's just like so emotional, so in her like, screw you guys, like I will turn into the thing that you're making me and I'll do it way better than you thought I could. And at the same time, she's just grieving.
She's vulnerable too at the same time.
Yeah. And just like seeing Nessa and seeing Dr. Dilliman and seeing Fiero and just being like, this is for me. I'm going to do this for me, but I'm also going to do this for all of my loss. And, it's that moment in time, like we get it resolved later, thank God, and for good. And, she comes to peace with it, but it's that, like, it's the overwhelm of it for me, where it's like, you really get to just, feels like she's like journaling or like in therapy, you know what I mean? That like the height of the emotion when you just have no idea what to do. And so you're just reacting. And it feels so powerful to be able to like fully feel that. I feel like women don't get to feel their feelings. Women don't get to be emotional because then they're too emotional. And then if they're not emotional enough, then they're stoic. And there's all of these judgments. And Elphaba just does, like, she doesn't subscribe to any of that.
Yeah.
So in that way, like watching her process all of that out loud and then getting to like live all of that just felt like the most powerful moment of the show to me.
It definitely is. And chills every time that song happens in the show. So yeah. So I'm curious, did you have any mid-show Elphaba oh.
I didn't. I
Oh
think,
my gosh.
I'm not sure what has happened since I left the tour, but I think when I was on the tour, I was the only Elphaba that didn't have to swing on mid-show.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I mean, that's a testament to the women that were playing the role. And really it was Emily Cook for a few weeks, and then Jessica Voss came on tour.
Yes.
And she, I mean, was like clockwork. She just like knew herself, and she was not one to like risk injury or risk any of that. And I just like, it was such a masterclass of like self-care and how to like take care of yourself when you're doing something like that. I think that like it's hard to not want to push yourself and push through and be like, no, I can do it. I can do the whole thing. But like Jess really was like, you know what? I'm going to take my show and I'm going to, take care of myself and make sure that I'm resting properly and doing all this stuff and not getting sick and whatever. So she really was like clockwork. I felt really lucky because it was much less anxiety inducing in that way for me.
Imagine.
Because it was like a little bit more predictable. But no, I never went on mid-show. And I was like, after a few months into my contract, I actually like stopped wondering if I would, which was maybe bad because anything can happen if she like twisted an ankle, or it's not always vocal stuff. It's like if she got injured or if she's got food poisoning or whatever, you don't know what's gonna happen. But I was like so just like confident in her that if she wasn't feeling well at all, she just would like call out for the whole and take care of
Right. Like know herself.
yeah, that I just was kind of like, after like 6 months, I like stopped
Right.
listening to be like, okay, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And just was like, cool, I'm gonna do my rehearsal, or I'm gonna read, or I'm gonna, go over my lines or whatever.
It lessens the anxiety
Yeah.
backstage, because I can't imagine the anxiety backstage when you're like, am I gonna go on mid-show? Like, what's gonna happen? Should I be prepared right now?
Yeah. Or you like hear some fatigue in the monitors and you're like, is everything
And you're
okay?
like, wait, do
Okay.
you need me?
I know, never happened to me.
Wow. So
I know.
before I move on from Wicked, I have to ask, Wicked fans are so passionate, and I know that you were like a fan favorite Elphaba when you were on the tour.
Aw.
So did you have people like come? I know you had people come like specifically to see you when you were on, and how cool was that feeling?
It was really cool. I think it's tough. It's tough being a cover because a lot of people specifically are coming to Wicked to see the person who's playing Elphaba. And then also, if they're not, let's say like Wicked fans or even musical theater fans, you see that a cover is on and you immediately lower your expectations, or like you assume they're going to be very good, or you're like, oh no, we're not seeing the person, which I completely understand the impulse for people to like react that way. But it always like hyped me up. I was always kind of like, oh, I need to be so much better than they think I'm going to be. Oh, that's why I was like rehearsing during the shows and like I was like, I am not going to mess up this blocking. I'm not going to mess up a change. I'm not going to be late for anything. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? I was like, I am going to step in and give them the show that they're expecting to see, or that they're not expecting to see, really, because
Yes, like
they
exceed the
yeah.
expectations.
But it was really, really sweet. A lot of people would tweet at me and I went on a lot of Sunday matinees, and they had a hashtag that was like Schultheis Sundays, Schully Sundays. I would get, yeah, I really had a lot of people rally around me, which was just so sweet. And I do have to say, Wicked fans are some of the best in musical theater. There are people who like still keep track of my career, who came to Toronto to see Bat Out of Hell, who've seen Almost Famous. And they're like, hey, Emily, like I saw you in Wicked, da 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 da. Or like I'll get DMs of just like people congratulating me or tagging me and stuff. And it really like it's so heartwarming and encouraging.
I feel like it's where Wicked is the peak of musical theater for fans too, because like everything starts, or a lot of things, a lot of like the passion for musical theater from the audience starts from Wicked most of the time.
Yeah.
Wicked.
I know. I mean, like you get messages all the time being like, hey, I've never seen it. This is my first musical. I'm
Yeah.
13. We're in somewhere, let's say like we're in Wichita, Kansas, and they're like, hey, I've never seen a musical before and I came to see Wicked, and oh my
And mind
gosh.
blown.
And then like, they go down the rabbit hole and all of a sudden they're listening to Legally Blonde and
Right.
Carousel and Heathers, and like you're right. They like start cultivating this passion, and they attribute that to, maybe the actors they saw as Elphaba, but really it's just, I mean, it is a testament to just Wicked as a whole too.
I mean, I definitely think the actresses to play Elphaba and like Linda and all the characters definitely get the credit too, for sure.
Well, thanks.
Yes. So I want to talk Bat Out of Hell, because I mean that's such a cool musical. It's kind of a rock musical.
Uh-huh.
What made you want to do Bat Out of Hell after Wicked?
I um I just it was just so weird. It was just so weird. When I got the audition, I was like, huh? What is this? A Meatloaf musical? And I was like, oh, it's in the West End. And I was like trying to do my research and watch some clips. And I was like, oh my gosh. I read the script and I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've read in my entire life. And I was obsessed with it. Absolutely obsessed. It was a rock concert, it was a musical, it was a poem, it was performance art, it was like just a spectacle, almost like a circus like show. I just could not wrap my brain. It felt like genreless, and it felt like it was just kind of like, yeah, we're going to call this a musical, but we're not following the rules. We're going to do whatever we want. I mean, there was like explosions and fireworks and people jumping off, and a motorcycle on stage, like, and meatloaf music. Like, are you joking? It was everything that I am good at and almost nothing that I am bad at. No one was making me dance. No one was making me, you know what I mean? We weren't singing arias. It was just like, oh, you get to just like be angsty and weird. The thing about Raven is that she is like an anti-ingenue. And I have never seen like a female character that was somehow like really, really interesting and desirable and relatable, who was also just a weirdo.
Like unique.
Yeah.
Sort of character, one of a kind sort of character.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really awesome. I was not worried at all, but like, when you're putting something up that someone else has created, you always kind of wonder like, oh, especially coming from Wicked, it was very like, on this word, walk to 10, do a quarter turn to the audience, say this line, and then on your next line, you're going to walk 4 numbers left and then stop here. And like, it's very, very specific. And Bat Out of Hell was my first experience on a large scale production that was kind of like, the director, Jay Scheib, he's so incredible to work with. And he really understood like, okay, cool. I created that version in the West End. And now I'm going to use your strength and your personality. And we're going to like recreate Raven. And what can we do? And like, what's your impulse here? And like, yes. Hey, on this line, why don't you try rolling up and just rolling over the back of the couch all the way to the edge of the stage, and then hang your head over the edge of the stage before you say your next line, and then just stay there. And it wasn't like, it's so hard. It's so hard playing an ingenue and like thinking people just like end up wanting you to be sexy or like the victim or like this flowery like thing. And so your impulse is maybe to want to do that. And I think that seeing the weirdness and the relatability and the like outcast version of Raven coming in, I think Jay was like, oh, let's go there. Okay. Yes. How weird can we be? And we just really played in rehearsal, and it was, RIP to that version of the musical because it was gone too soon, but it is still, I mean, one of my favorite. I think it's like maybe my favorite thing I've ever done.
Oh,
I know.
So like you're like revival.
Oh my gosh. Like, I would call me. Hey. Yeah, right. We'll see. I'm not sure.
I mean, how fun is it during a rehearsal process to go about, and this goes for Wicked too, to go about making a character your own?
It's cool. I think you have to navigate what, you have to do what they're asking you to do, and you have to like stay true to like the story that they're telling. What was really cool about Wicked is that, you have this like roadmap of the blocking. But as far as character wise, they really, really say, kind of like, you got to be on 10, but we're not going to tell you how to say the thing that you're saying. And it's interesting. Like, I think something that people love about all of the different Elphabas and like getting really attached to the people who play them is that they really like let you be so different and so you. And that's why when you're asking me questions like, oh, are you a wizard in an Elphaba, no good, it's like, yeah, like, because they'll cast all of these different people and we all attach to certain different things and different like qualities in her. And the same thing with Bad at Hell too is just like, yeah, okay, it's been done before. So like, let's like keep you got to tell the story, but how are you going to tell the story? And so kind of like infusing yourself into that. And then also like seeing what you see in that character and being like, oh, I want to pull out this thing about her. I think that this is really special and neat. And so I'm going to like use that to infuse and be the reason that I do that in this scene later. And like
Yeah.
finding the thread that you want to follow.
Yes, and having the freedom as an actress to make it like your own and to bring yourself to the role, like I'm sure that is a dream.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's the best part of it, right? Is like
Yeah,
is feeling some kind of ownership of it and feeling like what you're putting out there um is like collaborative instead of just like, oh, somebody told me to do it this way and say it this way and stand here and do this, but like getting to like take the reins and be like, no, like what I have to say about this is gonna be appreciated by somebody and someone is gonna like feel really like heard and spoken to and seen because they're gonna see it the way that I see it, or they've never seen it the way that I see it. And it's gonna make them think, or it's gonna make them do this, like that's really like the power of just theater in general.
yes. So I want to talk Almost Famous because,
Cool.
oh my gosh, Broadway debut for you. So
Ah!
huge. So you started with it at the Old Globe in San Diego, right? In
I
San
did.
Diego, yeah. Okay, fact check. What was it like getting to bring that show to life and like being part of the original group of people that brought it to life, first of all, and the premiere of it?
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of new theater, but that was the first time that it was like, okay,
It was
we made it
huge.
to the out of town tryout and we're definitely going to Broadway. And so like we're doing this. And like I think I booked the job in January 2019.
A year before everything went crazy.
Yeah. And then the first workshop, not the first workshop, but the workshop with the out of town tryout cast was that April. And then our out of town was going to be in the fall at the Old Globe. And then we were supposed to go to Broadway in the spring of 2020, which obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, I think I froze.
It's the same cast every time we were doing it. And so we were all just kind of like, when you have that much time to play with something. And then what's really great about working with Cameron is that he's so he just like
Oh,
pays so much
yeah.
attention to the actors. And so even though we had this amazing source material, I mean, he literally won an Oscar for the movie,
Yes.
having the script and then seeing how he was kind of like tweaking the exact words, or like he would switch the order of some stuff or be like, oh, you messed up that line, but I like the way that you said it better because you understand it more when it's coming out of your mouth like that. And so he would put it in the script like that, or like
Yeah.
will ad lib stuff in some scenes because it's cool. Cause like the thing that you're making, obviously the movie exists, but like the
Yeah.
musical didn't exist yet. We were making the
Different
musical. So
medium.
every time we're trying things, you just get in the moment and then you say something or you do something. And then they're like, keep it. That's what your track
Yeah.
does now. Or like, oh, this was an ad lib, but like we're gonna put it in the script or whatever. And so you start seeing like little pieces of yourself in there. Or like one thing that I loved is in Ramble On, this is so funny. This is like my character, my roadie character that has literally no lines.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
but I am obsessed with her. I named her Joan. And I asked,
I love content. I
yeah,
love
right.
names.
And I like am the only female roadie. All of the other women in the scenes are um Stevie Nicks and then the Band-Aids and then Penny Lane.
Oh,
And I was like, I don't want to be like
you're
a
like, I'm
group
naming
or
myself.
like I was like, I want to be a roadie. And they let me be a roadie. And during tech, I was like, can I have a cigar? And they were like, yeah, okay. And then when we brought it to Broadway, I was like, can I have an eye patch? And they were like, huh? And And it's just like this whole like little internal thing that we've kind of created in the back of these scenes where like I got the nickname One-Eyed Bally for absolutely no reason on a whim during tech when we were, you know, so exhausted and like on the 11th hour of our 12th hour, they're naming me One-Eyed Bally. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm One-Eyed
Like,
Bally.
yeah, sure.
I gotta have one eye. Can I have an eye patch? And bless Davidson's heart, he was like, okay.
Yeah.
Now that's the track. And so just watching those like little parts of yourself get added in, being like, cool, okay, wow, there's me and there's me and there's me. And like, we're making this thing together that would be completely different if it were being made by different people, which is like really cool to think about.
That's so epic. And I mean, you all had the perfect like premiere place, California, to
We
premiere the musical.
did.
So I'm sure I didn't get to see it in California, and I'm so sad. Even though I lived in Los Angeles during the time, I was like trying to get there,
Oh my gosh.
but I don't drive, so I was like, how do I get there? And it would just like didn't work out, and I was so upset. So hopefully I'll come see it on Broadway.
Oh, well, you have endless chances to come see us on the
Yeah.
Broadway.
So hopefully I'll come see it on Broadway. How did audiences in California react to it? And
Oh,
was it fun hearing the reactions?
oh yeah. I mean, it's really like funny. Do not underestimate the power of like showing the people that you're performing to themselves on stage. The fact that the beginning of the show takes place in San Diego and at the San Diego Sports Arena, and we had some San Diego specific question or lines in there. They said like,
Oh,
the chili rellenos from Old Town, and she would say, oh yeah, going to watch all the Richards at the Old Globe. And like these little Easter eggs that just make the people that you're doing the thing for feel a part of it. And they just loved it. They loved the announcement that we were at the San Diego Sports Arena, and all of those little things were like they could feel like represented and seen, and like they were in on some kind of inside joke with us. It was like the exchange of energy was just so crazy. We had a sold out box office record breaking run. We got an extension. Obviously the weather is just fabulous every day. And
San Diego's beautiful.
oh yeah. And it was like this really nice homecoming for Cameron too. So he could bring this thing back and be like, hey, you're going to help us make the thing. You're going to be the opinions that we get and the responses that we get on our trajectory to Broadway, and kind of like making that in his hometown, I think was really special for him, was really special for the people in San Diego, and was, you know, really special for us. We were all basically like at summer camp on the beach, like at musical theater boot camp. You know what I mean? What's better than that?
So fun.
Yeah.
And getting paid for it, and having audiences come to see the show and like be excited to come see the show.
Yeah, I know. It was really really epic.
Yes. So when did you find out that you would be going to Broadway with the show?
They really felt passionately about making the show with the cast who was going to go to Broadway. So actually in January when they called, they were doing an availability check and said, hey, we're casting you for this workshop and for the San Diego run and for Broadway, and you have to sign on for all three, which I was like, twist my arm. I have to sign on to be on Broadway with the show. Oh man, since you're making me. Kidding. I was just like, are you joking? You're telling me that I'm going to make my Broadway debut next year and we're just going to spend the year working on this show and then we're going to go do it on. Yes. I couldn't say yes fast enough.
You're like, obviously.
Yeah. Right. I was like, oh no, you're making me. Wow. No, it was truly a dream come true.
Oh my God, I actually didn't know that they did that. And I'm like, I love that the creative team was like, hey, we're taking everyone from the workshop and from the San Diego production to Broadway with us.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice. I think they were like, it's really important that cause you, in the show, the entire ensemble, is cast like around their features a little bit. So as they were building these tracks, you're kind of like, oh, what is this person's skill set? Who are they the best person to be? Like I play Anita, the sister, And then in the second act, I play Allison in Rolling Stones, who is a complete opposite. And then when we're in Topeka in the I Am a Golden God scene, I play this quiet girl that's like, you're more beautiful in person. And like the idea that they're like curating all of that to the strengths of the actor that they cast, it's like then replacing them, you might need to curate it a different way. So I think they just wanted to like set the show because it's about William and it's about Penny and it's about the band and it's about Russell, but it is such an ensemble piece. The people you meet along the way are really important to his story.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Cameron and the rest of the team were being really intentional with the people that they were putting into those tracks. And so they just felt really strongly like, cool, we're going to pick you. And then like, you need to pick us back. And then we're all going to make this thing together and see it through. And it's really great. And, you know, we got delayed for 2 years and we only actually from the Old Globe, we actually only replaced 3 onstage tracks.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
like, I'm sure that's like things change in like 2-3 years. So like, hey, but like, that's so cool.
Yeah. You know, but a bunch of people could have gotten different jobs or could have like theater or like moved to Europe or, you know, any number of things could have happened, but it's such a testament to like the work environment that they created. And then also how we all feel about this piece and then how we all feel about each other. It's like, I got through the pandemic because I was like on the other side of this.
Is almost famous
on Broadway with these people that like, you know, we did weekly Zooms and we like, we're in our group text every day being like, all right, check in. How's everybody doing in quarantine? You're like, all right, I'm going to get on Zoom. Everybody hop on the Zoom if you're free. And like, let's like chat about life. And we really got each other through. It was really special.
So what was your Broadway debut like? What an exciting day.
Oh my God.
And what an exciting thing to think about when you like wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm making my Broadway debut today. I can't even imagine.
That is exactly what I thought when I woke up on that day. I literally, my eyes like blinked open like in a SpongeBob cartoon. And I was just
yes.
debut today, time to get up. It was incredible. I didn't anticipate how exhausted I was going to be by the time it happened. Because you know, tech is tech. Yeah. You're in rehearsal and it's like the good kind of exhausted, obviously. But you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, wow. I thought I was tired, but now I'm completely re-energized because the thing that we've been doing for the 10 people sitting in our audience, giving us notes and making nips and tucks and changes and whatever here, it's now going to be 1,100 people. And it's the first time we're going to do the thing and we're going to like do it in front of everybody. And like, it was 15 people's Broadway debuts.
It was a whole celebration.
Oh yeah. It was incredible. And it was just like, I have never been so amped in my entire life. First preview, I kind of counted as like my Broadway debut. It wasn't my first Broadway opening night, but it was like the first time I was performing on Broadway for people. And I thought that I just thought I was going to be, I mean, I was super ready for people to see the show, but I was also like tired. We were still making the thing, you know, you're still making changes and stuff like that. Yes. But I told everyone to come to my Broadway debut. And so I probably had 20 plus people in the audience there to see me. Some family, a bunch of friends. Yeah, right. And so everyone was there and, you know, we weren't doing anything after because we all had just like rehearsal the next day, but I like bought a dress. I was wearing this like pink frilly dress with cats all over it. And I was like, I'm just going to go get one drink at Playwrights Pub across the street, but I don't care. I'm going to dress to the nines. I'm going to be excited for myself. And like the audience just brought it. They just, I mean, so much love, so much entrance applause for everybody, so much laughter. It was like, it was really, I mean, it was the best, one of the best days of my life.
I mean, it's such a famous movie and I've heard so many good things about the stage version of the show. So how would you convince people to come see Almost Famous on Broadway?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if they need that much convincing. I'm just kidding. I think that if you have seen the movie and you love the movie, you are not going to be disappointed in the musical. That has been the consensus from people who love the movie to me so far. And if you haven't seen the movie, but you like music, you are going to love the musical and you are not going to need to have seen the movie. It is a love letter to rock. It is a coming of age story. It is a story about an outcast or just not even an outcast, just like someone really, really, really trying to figure out what they like, who they are, and just where they belong. And I think that everyone has had that moment in their life. And so watching William learn about life and learning where he fits and the kind of person he wants to be and what his passion is like, it's just so universal. And put that in with some Tom Kitt music, put that in with some 70s rock music, David Zinn's amazing costumes. The acting of the company is so brilliant. Every single person is so brilliant. And then also, I will just say, like, I just think we have the most talented ensemble on Broadway.
Yes. Ensemble, like, I go to shows to see, the ensemble makes the show.
Yeah, right.
Shows, honestly.
Like, we're doing some world building and and Brian Perry really just like got us all the way together. I mean, these vocals in this show are tricky and he has a sounding like
he was doing.
Yeah, he has a sounding like electric keyboards and making it's like soundscapey. And then also like we belt your face off. Yes. We all get solos during our bows. And it's like a time. It is just a good time.
Oh my goodness. I'm convinced.
Great. When you book a flight.
I'm convinced I need to book a flight in the new year for sure.
Hey, that's a great New Year's resolution.
So I'm curious, has Zoe come to see the show? Have any cast members from the movie come to see the show?
You know what? Eric Stonestreet just came. He actually he had one line in the movie. It was his first job. He played this hotel manager that gives William a message from his mother, and he came to see the show. We haven't been able to make it work with any of the other cast members, but I'm really hoping Zoe comes to see the show.
Oh my gosh.
I'm also just kind of like, do you want to come be Anita? I'll do everything else. And then like
no.
for one day.
No, she would be like, she would love to see you as Anita. Oh my god.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be so cool to have her in the audience and get to like have her see you on stage.
Wow. Yeah, it would. And Kate Hudson was so sweet. She sent us all a bottle of her vodka as an opening night present. Frances McDormand sent flowers and was like, I'm so sorry I can't make it work yet, but I'm coming and like happy opening. So everyone's been really sweet. And then Jimmy Fallon hasn't been able to make it to the show yet, but we went on the Tonight Show and he was so gracious and so excited about it. And he's gonna come do his track for a little bit in the show.
Ooh,
I don't have dates yet, but it is happening.
I did hear that. Oh my goodness. Wow, that sounds like what a cool experience to like get to like find out like these people from the movie who like did these roles back then, or like just like nice people and like some new stuff. And
yeah,
how cool to be part of that. So I'm curious, what is on your current Broadway bucket list? I mean, Broadway debut, obviously huge, but if you could pick like one thing on a bucket list right now, like dream role, anything.
Ooh, you know what? The Into the Woods revival. Yes. I just would have loved to be in that show. Cinderella is like certainly on my bucket list. I mean, I think every female role in that show, I would just like, die and go to heaven to play. Cinderella specifically. And Ooh, what else? I would love to see in the future another revival of Sunday in the Park with George. I would love to see
Ooh,
that. I'm a huge Sondheim girly.
yes.
Um,
Love Sondheim.
yeah. And I think those are maybe my like two main ones. And then, who doesn't want to do Wicked again? I would love to go back in that show someday.
If you went back to Wicked, who would you want to play Glinda opposite you?
Whoa, if I could pick anybody,
Yeah, pick anyone.
ooh. You know what? It would be really full circle to get to play it opposite Katie Rose Clark if she ever wanted to come back in the show. Because I
Oh,
could be like, I saw you were my first Glinda, and now I can do this with you. Um, and then I would love to do the show with Amanda Jane Cooper again.
oh, yes. Oh
We
my God.
had the best time.
Yes. Oh, that'd be a really cool, like full circle moment with Katie or Scott.
Yeah. So, let's send her this podcast and see if she's
Yes.
down.
Uh,
We'll make
I'll definitely send her this. For sure. So before I wrap up, what is some advice that you would give to young performers in the industry on like working to accomplish your dreams and passions in life?
The hugest thing that I have learned is every educator that you come in contact with, every every coach, every casting director, every director, every person that you work with in this business is going to be judging you or cultivating their opinion of you based on their own experience. And they're going to try to tell you who you are. And I need every person who wants to do this to know that only you get to decide that. And you get to tell people who you are, how to treat you, what kind of roles that you can play. Don't let anybody tell you what your type is. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something or you're not right for this or you're not right for that. You are right for whatever you want to do if you work hard and like feel strongly about that. You cannot let people put you in a box. For the love of God, we need you. We need your individuality. We need your specificity. We need your nuance. We need you to be singular. You don't need to say, oh, I'm this type. Oh, I'm a Zoe Deschanel. Oh, no, I'm a Kate Hudson. You can be both, or you can be neither.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that answer. That was so well worded. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thanks. It's something I've been
I'm
thinking
like
about
so impressed with how well worded that was.
recently.
'Cause seriously, oh my gosh. So where can people follow you on social media for, more great advice, inspiration, and to see what you're up to with the show
Oh,
and everything?
wow. I am an old, so I am not on TikTok yet, but who's to say?
TikTok is hard.
Yeah, TikTok is overwhelming, but maybe someday. On Instagram, I am at Schultheis, EM_SCHULTHEIS, a whole mouthful of name. And I'm on Twitter at M's Nonsense.
Ooh, love that username. Oh my gosh. Twitter is just like whatever you're thinking, you tweet. So like, yes,
We love
absolutely.
a stream of consciousness, mostly post midnight.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, it is post midnight. It's like 3
Yeah.
a.m. You're like up and you're like thinking too much and you're like, I'm gonna type this and probably
Yeah,
regret it when I look back at 10 a.m. in the morning.
exactly. You're like, should I tell this to my journal or the entire world?
Yeah, the entire world.
Maybe society. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. My dog just did this and I'm gonna tell it to the world.
And everyone cares. You know what? That's how people go viral. Some people make
Yes. You
it.
never know. You never know.
You
So
never know.
lastly, do you have anything you want to promote or do you just want to tell people to come see Almost Famous on Broadway?
Oh, yeah. As of right now, I would really love for everyone to just come see Almost Famous. Come say hi at the stage door. DM me if you're coming. I would love to come meet you and say hey, and talk to you about theater, or just DM me in general. I just love questions. I love talking about musicals. So let's nerd out.
Yes. Well, oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining me on this today. I'm so glad we could schedule this and figure it out. And huge congrats on Almost Famous Broadway debut. That's such a huge deal.
Thanks, Becca. Thank you so much for having me. You had some great questions. I loved like thinking, I just love talking about theater. Let's just keep nerding out.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!